This is Central Texas Living with Ann Harder.
It is a delight to be talking to Amanda Haygood, who's the Director of Special Events for the Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce. You always amaze me, Amanda, because you've got so much going on all the time.
Listen, it is a fun opportunity.
How long have you been with the Chamber?
5 years.
Really?
So it's kind of, trial by fire, just get in and go with it. But I've learned a lot in these past 5 years. And so things have changed. They're consistently changing in Waco, but we're doing great things there. And so you're right. There is always something going on consistently. All the time.
Well, and it was a delight to have you come be on the TV show, the TV version of Central Texas Living, because there were so many great events that you were having. But you started a couple of years ago has to do with women. So let's talk about the Leading Waco Women series.
Yeah. So actually this time last year-ish, we were having some conversations internally about doing something for women and really recognizing groups of women and just the women business leaders. And coincidentally, our friends down the street at Texas First State Bank were having this same conversation. And, Rodney Kroll is really big in this endeavor and this initiative. And, he was making a lot of business loans to women who were in business, who were women business owners and, entrepreneurs that were starting their own businesses. And he was like, hey, we've got to recognize, these folks. And so his vision and our vision and, voila, Leading Waco Women was birthed. And it's been a really fun couple of years doing this. We've broken it down into like a 3-part series. And you've been in from the beginning.
Yes.
So
I've been so happy to be a part of this.
Yeah, it's been a blessing to have you, in on this too. But it's a 3-part series.
Well, it's interesting that you started off with a big award. I mean, and this is a big national thing that's been around for years and years, but it's never happened in Waco.
Right. So we are affiliated with the Athena International organization. There are a couple of other cities in the state of Texas that are affiliated with them also, but it's few and far in between. And so we were really, really excited to bring this to Central Texas. But yeah, the Athena International Leadership Award is what we are partnered with for Leading Waco Women. And we gave our first one, or awarded the first recipient, and announced her back last November, in 2018.
Yeah, November a year ago. Yeah.
And then the second one here in November of 2019. And so we kind of start there. We do a huge lunch that day, and that's kind of the serving summit of the series. Because we feel like leadership is first and foremost serving. And then, of course, the second series of that is empowering. And the third piece of that series is mentoring, because those are kind of, there's a lot that goes into being a leader, but those are kind of the 3 categories that we've broken it down into.
Well, I love the way you bring a lot of these different women who are leaders in the community to share their vision, their heart, their experiences with balancing motherhood and challenging careers, or a mission or a calling or whatever it is that they're doing, and remarkable stories, really.
It is, and I think that's part of the beauty of this, is because so often we as women, we see, great and grand and beautiful women that are doing amazing things. And we can often judge ourselves against them because they're doing great things. But it's great to hear the camaraderie and just the similarities and stories with them, and that they have some of the same struggles that we have. And so, you never know what someone has been through in order for them to be in the spot that they're in now. And so that's encouraging. It's empowering. And to watch women and listen to what they experience as women business owners, or just, women in leadership in their organization. It's really enlightening.
Well, the mentoring aspect, and that in all of these different programs kind of happen in different locales, really.
Right.
You have different venues. But last year it was at the Carlene Bright Arboretum, and it was a breakfast as opposed to a lunch, because a lot of the women who come, they're taking off work in order to spend 2.5 hours at an event. But there was a lot of hands-on kind of discussion at the table, and a chance for people to really kind of self-evaluate, and I thought that was very instructive.
Yeah, kind of the goal behind that is, one, doing it at different venues and having a little bit different topic and just conversation there, but we by design wanted to make that particular summit kind of a workshop style type thing. And we last year had so much incredible feedback. Some ladies come and they're sitting with coworkers, or they're sitting with other folks, from their organization. Some come by themselves, and so they're with a table of strangers. But that was the beautiful part of that we had so much feedback about, wow, we don't often, as colleagues, as coworkers, sit and talk about these things that we're facing on an everyday basis in our organization, as women business, leaders or owners. And so, we're really excited about the mentoring summit, that's coming. Well, all of the summits this next series, but
so the plan is to continue on with this next year.
Absolutely. We are working on dates for November, and then of course into 2021, the Empowering, which is usually in February. Typically, it's the first Thursday of November, February, and April. And so we're working on setting those dates and getting those speakers lined up and all of that fun stuff.
Of course, at this point, when you're hearing this, a lot of things have been canceled that were
Right.
happening in March and April. And this third mentoring one of the series set for April, but it's not happening.
It's not happening. And of course, lots of things are being canceled right now, but we are in the process of looking to reschedule that, and all of our ticket holders and sponsors are, in the loop and contributing to that conversation as well. So,
a lot of things that I've already been kind of lined up to be involved with, they're pushing it to late August.
Yes.
Just to play it on the safe side.
Yes. In fact, we're working on rescheduling our March events as well, and one of our March huge events, the Texas Food Truck Showdown, is going to be rescheduled until August.
Oh,
So,
good.
yeah.
I mean, that's like tens of thousands of people.
It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, okay, well, so we've talked about the women thing. There are a lot of other things that the
Absolutely.
Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce does. Let's, what are some of the things up on the horizon?
Well, we do have, of course, as we mentioned, the Texas Food Truck Showdown, and that is a huge event. Coming up a little bit later, we'll be rescheduling the Allen Samuels Chamber Classic, which is right now, it was slated for May, but that one's going to be moving.
Oh, that you already know the May event is moving.
So this whole thing has kind of rocked our world a little bit,
A little bit, you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah.
I still haven't gotten over the NCAAs. I mean, really.
I know.
I
I know.
Yeah, we had tickets to the Final Four. We were planning to go watch the Lady Bears. Well, all right. I mean, there's been a lot of, things that have changed, but you
Right.
just do what you have to do, and you
Right.
move along, press ahead. And that kind of brings me to, we learned a lot of things from women and how they face the challenges of life. Let's talk a little bit about you personally. I mean, you're a single mom.
I am a single mom, and this was not my plan by any means at all, but God had different plans. And so I lost my husband 11 years ago. We have a now 14-year-old daughter, and so life really threw me a curveball in that. And I, after that took place, I took a couple of year journey trying to figure out who I was and where I was going and what God was doing with me in all of that. And I ran a little bit and made some life choices as I was really just trying to figure out who I was, and it was a really tough situation. And so a little over 6 years ago, God brought me, and I say he brought me because he really did, because I fought it. I did not want to come back to Waco, but he brought me back.
It is the promised land, you know.
It is, and they say there's no place like home, and it's true.
Yeah.
There isn't. But God is. I believe that everything that happens in our life is for a reason, and slowly but surely, I am unfolding, and God is pulling out all of that in me to really just shine His light. I have a passion for women, which it's part of why I love leading Waco Women. But I have a passion for women, and I'm involved heavily in my church, and just helping helping women, pull the best out of themselves and find their gifts and their talents and really what their purpose is. Currently, I'm working with some single moms, and I never in a million years thought that me being a single mom would be an opportunity for, God to use me. But He is, and it's beautiful, and it's just, God is just so good.
Any advice, something that you've learned to someone who finds themselves in a similar position?
I would definitely say to remember that everything happens for a reason. And I don't know, where whoever's listening may be on their spiritual journey, but God is always with you, always, always. And I know as cliche as it sounds, like this too shall pass. It really does get better. Time doesn't heal all wounds, but God certainly does. And I fully believe that there's always a special place in your heart, whatever has led you to being in this position, and you're being a single parent, a single mom, or a single dad. God will use it for good.
Well, that brings us to the end of our interview, but I'm going to ask you some questions. I want to end our talk today with my version of the late James Lipton's questions he used on Inside the Actors Studio.
Okay.
You familiar with that?
A little bit.
Yeah, well, he had a compilation of questions from Bernard Pivot and Marcel Proust, and this is my little take on it. So here we go. What's your favorite word?
Oh, well, I'd have to say right now it's commit, because that's my word for 2020. So I'm committing to everything that God has called me to.
What about your least favorite word?
Well, I guess it's probably that too. So
you got to walk the talk,
that's
huh?
it. That is it. That's it.
All right. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Definitely giving back and using my story to benefit other people. I think creatively, I like to be creative. I love doing things with my daughter. I like to journal. I like to journal a lot. And so that, listen, Ann, I am an introvert through and through. And so I love to just have my quiet time and just journal and color and, doodle. There's this whole new craze with Bible journaling. And so that's my thing. I love it.
Very good. What turns you off spiritually or emotionally?
I would think that's kind of a tough one. A negative mindset, not being open to being challenged, or the victim type mentality.
What sound do you most love?
Ooh, I really like the sound. Here's the introvert in me again. I really like the sound of rain when it's quiet.
Yeah. Oh, lovely.
But, I have to say, I love listening to, even though she's 14, I love listening to my daughter giggle. It's just, it's so sweet.
Yeah. What sound do you hate?
Ooh. Of course, there's always the scratching of nails on the chalkboard.
Yeah, right.
There's definitely that. Gosh. Or smacking. That's not a...
Oh, gum?
Gum?
Yeah,
Food?
smacking gum. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right. What other profession would you like to try?
I didn't think that this would be my profession at all. So there's one for you.
Okay.
But, I really feel like I am being led into writing and doing some speaking things with, of course, like I kind of mentioned earlier, with single moms and more of a ministry focus, which I'm already... It's not a profession yet, but
May lead you right into that.
May lead me. But that's where my heart is.
What do you know you wouldn't like doing at all?
Changing diapers.
Okay. And we'll end with this one. What do you want to hear God say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Well done, Amanda, my good and faithful servant.
Well said. Thank you, Amanda. It's been a joy to have you here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ann.
All right. Thanks. What a delight to welcome Eric Shephard to
Good
the
morning.
podcast, our executive director of the Waco Civic Theater. And we are maintaining a respectable social distance from each other, and we've got little screens in front of the microphones even. So yeah, we're
Table's been disinfected, the chair,
yes,
my
everything
hands.
Lysol sprayed everywhere. So yeah, so between the allergies clearing my throat, I don't know about you,
Oh,
Eric.
yeah. This cool, damp weather's great, but
Yeah.
yes, yeah, when there's toadstools growing in my yard, I know, well, you know, it's that time of year.
It is that time of year, and for the Civic Theater, it's that time of year. You should be in the midst of rehearsing for a big show.
We were planning on opening a week from today, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, right. So here we are, having to juggle some things. And so, what do you know right now about the season we haven't finished yet? We've got Emma and the Music Man coming up.
Right. As it stands now, we're hoping that we can slide Emma to the Music Man time slot. So we'll move it from the end of March to somewhere around the beginning of May. And our musicals normally run about 3 weekends, so that gives us time, I think, to move it to that time slot. And presumably, sometime in May, we'll all be able to gather in small groups. One of the nice things about one of those levels is that 250 used to be the number for a few days for gatherings, and that they may ratchet that up over time. Our house only seats around 200, so we may fit in one of those thresholds by the time an all clear of sorts is given.
Yeah. Unusual times, though.
Yes,
really
indeed.
strange times, and of course for your actors.
Yes.
And actresses, you know, this is something that they look forward to, and it's tough on everybody, but for people who kind of have a bent toward performing, you know, almost harder. So I guess they could still be studying lines, you know, a lot of stuff you can be doing at home.
TIAA is on a mission. Why? Because 54% of Black Americans don't have enough savings to retire. So in collaboration with big-name artists like Wyclef Jean, TIAA released Paper Right, new music inspiring a new financial future. With 100% of streaming sales going to a nonprofit that teaches students how to invest. Stream Paper Right now and help close the gap.
They are. And we've talked about that, and they're ready to go when we give them the word. I think we'll probably need about 10 days of rehearsal because we were almost about to open as it was. Gives us lots of time to get the set finished. Sometimes the paint's drying on the set on opening night.
Yes, that's right.
I think we're going to fit comfortably under that hurdle this time.
Well, let's talk a little bit about you. I know you have your master's in theatrical directing from Baylor, so
right.
really Central Texas is not someplace you just sort of landed,
No.
you know, in midlife. Because, I mean, you, for more than 10 years, you were in Killeen.
That's right.
Executive Director of Viva La Arts. And so, but the transition to Waco happened how long ago?
I moved here to live just about a year or so ago, but I lived in Temple for the first year that I was here. So I started work at Waco Civic Theater in January of 2013.
Yeah, so it's been a while.
It's been a while, yes.
And you've just done some tremendous things.
Thanks.
Particularly in bringing, I mean, I'm thinking back over the shows that have happened, and there've been a lot of them. I've often said, you know, being around you is like drinking from a fire hose. You've just you've got stuff happening.
Well, if more is good, more should be better, right?
Even more, yeah.
Even more
right,
should be better,
is
right?
more better, yeah, for sure. And in just a bit, we'll talk about what the upcoming season is. But let's reflect a little bit on the past shows. I know you've been in some
Yes.
of the past shows.
Yes, I have.
As an actor. But so your training, let's talk about, you know, your past performing and where all you have performed.
Well, I was a theater major in college until I switched over to English and history. So I did a number of roles at St. Edward's when I was there. And then I did small professional theater in Austin in the early 90s and kind of reached a point at which I thought I had gotten all of the parts or was doing all the work that I could do in Austin. So I moved to New York and then got accepted to a training program at Actors Theater of Louisville in 1995 and spent the year there in Louisville. And then they kept me on a little bit longer as a shop carpenter because I have those skills. And so I worked in their scene shop for several months after that. And that's when I started getting directing jobs. So in 96, I directed in Indiana and in Georgia, and then got another directing job in Texas. And it seemed like the universe was telling me, be a director. And along the way, as a teacher, which I had given up to pursue my dreams of being an actor, I had met a number of folks, one of whom was the director of the master's program at Baylor, Dr. Steve Peters. And he invited me to come to Baylor to get my master's in directing. And so in the fall of 1996, I entered that program. And while I was there, I did a lot of acting. At least once a semester, I appeared in one production or another.
Fabulous shows at Baylor.
Terrific. And I got to work with some great folks. Stan Denman, I got to work with him. I got to work with Pat Cook, who's been retired a little while now. I used to say recently retired, but she's working on having as long a retirement as career, and I hope that she gets there.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
There were, I guess Sally Askins is one of the last faculty members who was a faculty member when I was there, but have formed some lasting relationships, both as a performer and as a director. And I'm in touch with some of those folks who were in our directing cohort, but also students who were undergraduates who've gone on to acting careers or a life that includes theater.
Well, and the Waco Civic Theater has also provided a venue for some of those Baylor actors and actresses to have additional roles.
Absolutely.
To kind of notches on their belt.
One of them would be John Deaver.
Oh, yeah.
He's acted on our stage from time to time.
I know.
He's terrific. A great guy as well as a really good actor. And we're doing Emma right now, and I was hoping I could lure him into coming back and do that because he did Pride and Prejudice with us a few years ago, and that was one of his favorite parts. But sadly, he has other responsibilities.
I know. Yeah, kind of busy with some other stuff happening right now. What's your favorite role? Do you have one? You've done so many things.
I loved doing Gomez Addams in the Addams Family. I also loved being in Boeing. I played a character who had this kind of frenetic energy and was trying to manage things, which seemed kind of similar to my life. Friend of a guy who had 3 girlfriends at the same time, and so this friend was running interference for his flatmate, and that meant literally running around, slamming doors, jumping over furniture, and it was a great time. Loved doing it.
Well, the shows are all so entertaining, and I know you have a good base of support, but could always use more season ticket holders. How difficult is that?
Well, it's especially difficult in a time like now. A lot of our revenue comes from ticket sales, and with us unable to sell tickets and be open to the public right now, it hurts a little. I mean, we're gonna be okay. But this is a challenging time, and if you have a dedicated subscriber base, that can help you get through those times. And clearly there's work to be done for that. And I'm hoping that when we come out of this, that a number of institutions like ours will see increased support as people realize something like this can really threaten the quality of life in Waco in ways that aren't having to do with our health.
Absolutely.
You want there to be something to come back to, when you get to come back to it.
Yeah, of course, over the years, I've been really happy to be a part of your fundraising effort with the stars, and because it's always so much fun because we get to kind of take on the persona of somebody else. Are you, I know with things a little bit up in the air, are you still planning to have a fundraising show, perhaps?
We are going to have
I know it's usually late in the summer anyway.
It's late in the summer or early fall, and I think everything in our schedule has shifted, so it may be November.
Yeah.
Or we may decide one of the first things we have to plan for is a fundraiser.
Yeah,
so,
it may be earlier.
Right, that will become the priority. But yes, we will be doing that show again sometime soon.
Okay, well, let's talk about next year. Next season, I know I've seen a list. I probably wasn't supposed to, but I was at Freedom Ball, and I know you graciously donated some tickets to that. And I thought, I wanted to be surprised when we chatted, but I already have an idea.
It's a fairly poorly kept secret at this point.
At this point. But let's talk about next year's shows.
So we'll open the season, whenever that is, with Cinderella, Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. And you may have just seen that Rodgers and Hammerstein is going to put the Leslie Ann Warren version on TV.
I think there'll be a lot of people watching that.
And I think it was very kind of them to help us promote our show.
There you go.
Right.
There you go.
And then we're doing a comedic take on Robin Hood called Sherwood by Ken Ludwig, and we've done a number of his shows like Moon Over Buffalo. Really, really funny, but also he has got such sensitivity to the original material. He's adapted a number of classic tales like The Three Musketeers, which we did a few springs ago. And so that's exciting. There'll be sword fighting and cudgel fighting and archery.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah. And that will be an awful lot of fun to do. It is scheduled for the fall. And then next January of 21, we're going to do a show called Alabama Story, which is a brand new play. It's only about 2 years old. It's currently playing at the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, if they're still doing performances.
Yeah.
And it's about a children's book in 1959 that raised a bit of controversy. It was a children's book illustrated by the author about a white bunny and a black bunny playing and getting along and loving each other in the woods. And allegory was seen by some of the more reluctant folks who thought, oh, well, that's a sign of times we don't want to come. So it became a segregation story instead of a children's story. And so the drama that ensued from that, and there's some really funny parts to it too, but one of the things that's important to us is that every year we do something that's literature-based, or we do something that has to do with the wider world, you know. And so Alabama Story will be one of those. And then following that, we'll be doing Bright Star. Again, a fairly new show, but Edie Brickell and Steve Martin, Waco native Steve Martin.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I used to work at the radio station with his uncle.
Oh, really?
Right.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, Harvey Martin. Yeah. Yeah.
There are lots of connections I
No,
think
there
we'll
are.
discover, yeah.
There are.
This is a bluegrass musical. It's loosely based on a true story, wherein a woman, for circumstances that kind of were beyond her control, had to give up a child for adoption, and then that child shows up back in her life, and there's a reunion. And it's it's moved, because there's an actual story, but this is moved to North Carolina, and the music is all bluegrass. And I'm really looking forward to having bluegrass on our stage. You know, banjo player, fiddle player, and Foggy Mountain Breakdown kind of stuff.
Of course, and you got access to some great musicians.
Oh, my goodness.
Loved the Hank Williams story. We were not able to get into the Patsy Cline this last season, but man, it was so good. The music was so good.
That cast in it was remarkable, just remarkable. Lauren Weber, who played Patsy Cline, and Christina have worked professionally, and they were the two cast members of that show. And man, they had the audience eating out of the palm of their hand.
I know they did.
Sold every ticket to every show, and we could have done more.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping we'll bring some more of that energy back to the stage next spring.
All right. And so I interrupted you.
No, it's okay.
Talk about shows in the past. So where were we in next season?
We're up to a story that's based on a Greek myth and starred Audrey Hepburn and Rex Harrison in the movie version. And why can't the English speak well? Great story. My Fair Lady.
Move your bloomin'.
Yes, exactly. Dover. Yeah, such great stuff in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, hurricanes in, now it's gone, hardly ever happen. Hampshire, that's it.
That's right.
Hurricanes in Hampshire hardly ever happen.
Hardly ever happen. Oh, so much fun. And your musicals are big casts. I was so honored to be a part of Mamma Mia last
Man, that
year.
was fun.
That was fun. I told you I was an embedded reporter,
Yes.
in that, because I just really was curious how you go from casting to opening night in like 6 weeks, or it really seemed like less than that. But I was fascinated with how quick a turnaround these shows are, as big as they are.
Well, it's that, if some is good, more is better. So we're always doing more shows. We do 13 shows a year, sometimes 14, and that means more than one a month. I'm that good at math. So we're always working on 2 shows, sometimes 3, sometimes 4. December, it gets kind of tricky because we do 2 Christmas shows simultaneously.
Right.
And
so many things for kids.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what's so huge, because you've got a whole crop of young people who are wanting to learn.
Yes. It is part of, you mentioned Mamma Mia, and that's a great story in terms of not just the response, because the audience loved that show.
Oh, they did.
We added shows that sold out those too.
There were so many shows.
Yes, including one in which a homegrown talent got to step up at the very end as who was the understudy and got to perform, Victoria
That's
Brewer.
right.
Yes.
Oh, I will never forget that.
Yeah, the way the cast rallied around her.
And she knocked it out of the park.
She did.
As we knew she would. But I mean, that's a big role. There was a lot involved, and she did a great job understudying, because there were some times that your leading lady was, had to be out or was sick or whatever. But you have such a wealth of talent here locally, because the main female roles were double cast. I mean,
Yes.
and that does help when it comes to illness.
It does. It gives you kind of an insurance policy,
Yeah.
but it also creates more opportunity. And that's, you mentioned large casts. I'm a huge fan of overcasting shows,
Yes.
so that more people have opportunity. Because on the main stage, we only have 6 times a year, for adults to perform. And for children's theaters, only 4 times a year where they're guaranteed there's a children's theater production. And so having a show like My Fair Lady or The Wizard of Oz or Beauty and the Beast, in which you've got people from 6 years old to 70, is wonderful because lots more people have a chance to perform. And I think the other thing about Mamma Mia that was great for me, that I enjoyed so much about that, is that sense of community, that showed up when Victoria had to step up.
Yes.
But throughout the whole show, it's the experience that people are craving. It's not just being on stage. It's hanging out with those other people. It's forming lasting friendships.
And meeting new people were totally kind of out of my orbit of life. But
People with
what
such
a
interesting
precious-
stories,
yes, and such precious memories that I have of that as well. Well, gosh, it was always
possible,
It
is it?
always goes so fast. When we do the television version, you had 3.5 minutes, and I knew it was never enough. And here we've got a little bit more time, but I want to wrap things up with, of course, you were the first really professional actor that I've gotten to interview so far on the hopefully not the last one,
Right.
but the first one I've really gotten to chat with. And of course, I know of the great late James Lipton.
Yes.
Just passed away not too long ago, but his show Inside the Actor's Studio, he would end the show with questions based on Bernard Pivot's questions from a popular French television show and Marcel Proust. And so it's my take on it. So I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite word?
Opportunity. I think it talks about what I do in my work, but it also talks about the way that if you're a person of faith, or if you're a person who believes in the goodness of humanity, every day is an opportunity. Every conversation, every week, every month, every year. And we're fond of making New Year's resolutions. I like to do that more on a daily basis. What's going to be my focus today? What opportunities are there for me? And so that's the first thing that came to mind.
Good. What's your least favorite word?
Hatred.
Okay. Yeah. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
I think it has to do with opportunity. It has to do with openings. It has to do with the being alive in the moment, and how being alive in each moment is a whole new opportunity, a whole new universe. That moment has never existed before, and they keep unfolding and keep unfolding. As long as we're here, that opening and that chance to recreate or be recreated in every moment is probably the most gratifying thing.
Now that's, I think, a lesson we're all kind of learning right now in these really
Being present, right
unusual
here, right now,
times.
and
Yeah,
grateful for it.
And
yes.
grateful for it. What turns you off?
Aside from, I guess the first thing that came to my mind was ugliness, right? People being unkind to each other.
Yeah.
It's being closed off to others' experience, to one's own experience.
What sound do you love?
I love the sound of chimes, of bells.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In Bruce Springsteen's song, Hungry Heart, is the first time I can remember that. He had them in the background of one of the choruses, and I went, what a beautiful sound, and I've loved it, at least that long, yes.
So not so much more cowbell, but
No.
more...
Got to have more cowbell, but I prefer the chimes.
But
yes.
you prefer the chime.
Yes.
What sound do you hate?
The grinding of teeth,
Okay.
including my own.
Exactly. What other profession would you like to try?
Rock climbing.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know
don't
that was a profession.
I don't know if there's a career in that or not, but I know there's people who are at least famous in that world.
There are.
And that seems like amazing freedom and being in touch with every single moment. Where does my hand, where's my foot go? And look at this rock, the sky, the wind, and every inch of my body's alive in that moment. I've climbed small rocks, but,
Wow. Yeah, it does sound like you've got some experience there.
just a little.
Yeah. What job do you know you would not want?
Garbage man.
Yeah. But we need them.
But we need them. Oh, yeah. I'm glad
Yeah.
that people do it. I just don't want to be the guy who does that, I guess. That's the first thing that came to mind.
All
Maybe
right.
a Major League umpire. That might be tough, too.
Oh, yeah. Out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So finally, what do you want to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Good job. Well done.
And that is how we will end our
Okay.
chat today. I hope it's not the last one.
Same here.
But it was always good to have you on repeatedly on the TV version of Central Texas Living, and so lovely to get this chat with you, Eric.
Me too.
Eric
Thank you.
Shephard.
I appreciate
with the Waco
opportunity,
Civic
Ann
Theater.
Harder.
Absolutely, and get your season tickets.
Please, yeah. Great shows in store, and it'll be so good when we can get back together again.
Central Texas Living is part of the Rogue Media Network family. Be sure to check out their other shows at roguemedianetwork.com. Please rate us 5 stars on iTunes and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Join us again soon for more Central Texas Living, the podcast.
This has been Rogue Media Network Podcast.